My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Cristani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by the lovely Dr. Lise Janelle. So she is a transformational coach and the creator of the Heart Freedom Method, a breakthrough process that helps people release deep emotional blocks and reconnect with their true essence. With over 30 years of experience in mind-body healing and more than 126,000 private sessions, she blends science and heart to guide clients into clarity, self-love, and meaningful change. She's also the co-author of Unstuck with Jack Canfield, creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and is passionate about helping people heal from within to create empowered, purpose-filled lives. So a big welcome to the show, Dr. Lise.
Thank you, Catherine. Nice to be here with you.
Being a mind-body coach and working in that space for such a long time, I can imagine that your practice has definitely evolved the more you've got to know. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, well, my background, I was a chiropractor, a full-time holistic chiropractor, and I could have 10 people with similar conditions, and I would do their regular chiropractic care, and 8 of them would get better, but 2 of them, no matter what I did, it was stuck. So it sent me on a quest to understand what can I do. So by chance, coincidence, I found Dr. Scott Walker, who created the method called NET, Neuro-Emotional Technique. It's a great method. It's really good. Except now that I'm a full-time coach, I have clients around the world, so I couldn't do muscle testing. You know, necessity is the mother of all inventions. So then it's beautiful how I ended up creating the Heart Freedom Method because, yeah, people can learn it. So it's not only me that does it. I certify coaches in my method so they can have deep transformation faster. I teach people how to do it for themselves. If people want to work with me or one of my coaches, they could do that. But what I'm really passionate about is, and the reason why I do this is because I love to see in people's eyes the sparkles when they realize, oh my goodness, this explains why I've been having so many challenges getting what I want. So every time you do the Heart Freedom Method, you reconnect with your divine essence and you let go of a story, an illusion that's been holding you back. So every time you practice it, what it does is it opens you up to your inspiration, your wisdom, your love, your gratitude for who you are, what you do, and what you have. I love doing this method.
I think that's such a beautiful evolvement. And I know a lot of people have, I'm actually trained in NET, so I know exactly
Oh,
what you're
are
talking
you?
about.
Oh,
Yes,
wonderful. So you understand the basis for it. That's
I
great.
I do. And I also understand how complicated it can be when you are trying to explain muscle testing to someone, or you're trying to do it online and they don't know how to lock it in themselves. And it's just, I ended up evolving it so I can make it work intuitively for me to help guide me that way. But technically, that's not the science-based way to do it. So I understand, like all these different kind of modalities, but in the end, it's you creating something that works for yourself, but then also for the clients and seeing that consistency of transformation coming through, which is the essence of what you do.
Which is, so you know, also, it's like, I know people can muscle test themselves, but it's so subjective when people, it's so,
Hmm. They let
because
their head get in their way. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes just to show them, I ask them to put their arm out and I think, I love you, you're beautiful. And I ask them to resist me, they're strong. I don't say anything. I said, I think you're a jerk. And then I muscle them and it goes down. So we have to be so careful because if we want to find something, we can really change the muscle testing. That's why a good practitioner like you who knows that can do it. But yeah, the Heart Freedom Method is 10 steps, so everybody can learn it. One of my coaches that I trained, she has a little girl, and the little girl, she grew, doing this with mommy. Her name is Rosemary. And like she was like 4 years old. And she told her mom, Mommy, when we were in the car, I had car sickness. So I did the heart freedom method to myself. And she tells the whole story. And then she said, then I was okay. So like a 4-year-old can learn how to do it. It's really cool.
And does it tap into the meridian points or does it work more with the energy body? What is kind of without you giving away all your secrets, but what is kind of
Well,
yeah.
the book with Jack is going to come out, so the whole technique is going to be out there. But what it does is like when you actually, let's say I'm already willing, I love myself. Like when I work with someone, I always start, there's two things I start with that usually nobody can, be clear on. I love myself. The other one is I'm already willing and able to be successful. Those two usually people are tripped. And then the person just scans their body and feel where there's a sensation. And then they become present with the location, the shape, the color, the temperature, and the texture. And by becoming present, I access their subconscious mind by doing this. And then we figure out what's the emotion. And the emotion usually pops right up. Let's say they feel anger or depression or hopelessness. And then I ask them to find, where were you? How old are you the first time you felt this way? And then the story pops and then they can see it. And then they go, oh, they remember. It's fascinating. It's a memory pop. It just pops. And you're right there. And it's really useful because you can go deep with it. Like for me, for example, I had a twin that died beside me in utero. So I ended up back and I could feel it. Like my twin was there on the left-hand side of me, like all the emotions that were there. So that's why I'm sure if you've done an ET, since you've done an ET, it's like it's so cool. Like there's no way you can figure these things out by just using your brain. It wouldn't work.
The
It wouldn't
first
work.
time I was exposed to NET was with my naturopath, and I'd seen him just for a few things to help get my body to a point that it was at least stable, and thriving. And then he started doing more muscle testing. He's like, all right, what happened when you were with your dad when you were 5 years old around this emotion? And I was like, what witch magic is this? How did you know that? And the more I learned to trust it, the more I was understanding, that we hold emotions in our body and that sometimes it just needs that acknowledgement to be able to release. And then it changes our whole belief system that came from that one event.
And I go deeper than NET because that's what, like, I studied with John DeMartini. Have you heard of John DeMartini?
I love Dr. John DeMartini's work.
Here you are. You and I are in sync. Because what I do is I've integrated the power of gratitude into it because I find NET is beautiful and it does get rid of the blocks. But every time I do this work, what I do is I actually go after healing the heart. Like my goal every time is to heal the heart because I love helping people be successful. Like I love working with everybody that wants to live a great life and it's fun. But my hope is that when the book comes out with Jack, like I would love to have like 1 million people around the world read the book. And so that parents could raise their children since they're little kids knowing they're worthy of love. Because when you do the heart freedom method, like when the person feels the emotion, like I ask them, like feel the emotion, explore the scene, then I take it to the next level. And the next level is since you're worthy of love, what's the truth? Why was this happening? It's not because something was wrong with you. Because I am convinced things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And the problem we all have is when we're little kids and even adult, when the world doesn't react to us the way we want, we create a story. The story is false. Nothing is wrong with you. So since you're worthy of love, what was really going on? And that heals. And then I take it to the next level. And the next level is to bring gratitude actually for the event that happened to that. Like I figured quickly, it's not exact, but I probably did 126,000 sessions with people since I started doing that. So I started to discover patterns. And what I see that really helps my clients is that there are two stages to human development. The first stage, stage one, I call it the boot camp. It's the unconscious, asleep, infantile stage. The second one, I called it stage two, creating heaven on earth, which is the conscious, awakened, mature stage. Everybody makes it through stage one, but not everybody manages to get into stage two. And that's what I do. When people work with me, I help people get to stage two, creating heaven on earth. Like this
Yeah.
weekend, I was doing my extreme freedom retreat, and we spent the whole weekend like healing their hearts. And but also on Sunday, we created a statement of purpose for themselves. So now they have clarity. So, and what's super important is like the difference between stage one and stage two is that in stage one, you get your sense of self and the world reacts to you. Why? Because as soon as we were born, like I believe personally, that's my belief, and it serves me and it serves my clients. Our essence is love. It's who we are. So the good news is that's who we are. We have to forget about it because like I have a meditation where I put people through the meditation and like when you're in your heart, you're just like, nothing is missing. You feel abundant, safe, beautiful. You have no desire, like the Buddha. So if we all remember once we are here, we're spiritual, divine nature, we have no desire. It would be billions of little Buddhas under the Buddha tree. So we have to forget our divine essence. And it's sudden because we come into the physical world and now we're at the mercy of people responding to us. If you cry and cry and cry and somebody comes, like, hey, I'm all right. But if they don't come, what's wrong with me? We start creating stories. This is how we disconnect. And then if you cry and cry and cry and nobody comes, maybe I'm unworthy of love. And if you cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and nobody comes, it hurts too much to ask for what I want, so I'm going to stop asking. So now we go through life trying to manipulate the outside world, trying to find happiness by manipulating the results on the outside world. And it doesn't work so well. That's why I call stage one the boot camp.
More like the heart camp, I think.
It's the boot camp. So I created an analogy, and there are three types of boot camp. Some people, and I always use my yin and yang, so I'm going to use, for those of
Yeah.
you who are going to be watching this, you can see this. So
I love this.
So some people were born into a very easy boot camp. I call that the musical boot camp. Some people, kids go to learn to play the piano, violin. It's beautiful. It's nice. Your life was nice and easy, but then you're not so equipped to deal with the challenge of life because life's going to bring you challenges. Then some people were born into what I call the athletic boot camp. And there you get more challenge, so you get stronger. And then there is the Navy SEAL boot camp. And if you know about the Navy SEAL, it's one of the hardest boot camps you can go through. They have Hell Week where you don't sleep for a whole week. So when you graduate from Navy SEAL, you're like a superhero. You can face everything. The only problem with these one is when we are challenged, it's a powerful driver. So that's why stage one is necessary because we need a mechanism to get us going. So the boot camp pushes us, like we run away from pain towards pleasure. So by doing this, we develop interest, talents, networks of people, all these things, they get created in reaction to the pain we were feeling. And it's great, but usually it runs out of fuel. Why? Because subconscious, it comes from something is wrong with me from having not been able to feel loved. And usually people end up seeing you or me because a crisis happened. Either they lose their career, their money, their spouse, their health, their friends, like they have an identity. Something happens where they go, I need to get out of this pain. This is not working. Or if they're lucky, they listen to this webcast. And they decide, you know what? I'm not going to wait for the baseball bat to get out there. I'm going to learn how to go into stage two. So the difference between stage one and stage two. So in stage one, we are driven to run away from pain towards pleasure. The other one that drives us in stage one is our ego. Because we say, I'm either going to be like my parents because they're amazing, or I'm never going to be like them, or I'm going to punish them. So like we're driven out of the ego. The other one is our conditioned responses. So we run away from pain towards pleasure, our ego, or so you can feel like when you're in that goop and stage one, it's hard. I call that hell on earth also. There's heaven on earth, and there's heaven on earth. And people, as long as we look for the outside to tell us our worth, you can't win. Like a typical one that happens, you have one child. When you have two, often the older one ends up thinking, My mom who used to pay attention to me is busy with the baby now. Now you start creating sibling rivalry, like trying to get mom's attention, fighting with yourself. Like all of these things happen in stage one until you wake up and then you go, okay, this is insanity. It's good for me, but I don't need to get stuck in the boot camp. And then this is a visual for success, creating heaven on earth. So this is the yin, which is the female principle of listening. This is the yang, which is the male principle of acting. So yin is about to listen to our heart. Our heart wants us to know two things. The first thing our heart wants us to know, it wants us to admit our dreams and aspirations. The second thing it wants us to know is to admit our dreams, to know we're worthy of love and admit our dreams and aspirations. Remember when we were crying, and then we decide we're unworthy of love? Well, we need to heal those stories. Doing, an ET in the Heart Freedom Method, that's part of that. The second one is, it's scary to admit what I really want. If I really want, I might have to sell my house and move to Costa Rica.
It's so interesting because I had to work through this because I have a coach because, we all need support. Anyway, and it came up and it's like, okay, what if you get everything you want? And it's so many of us actually had a fear around that, about fear around being successful, a fear around actually getting what we desire, what we want. And it's so interesting because you think, why would you fear that? But it's almost like, for me, it was like, but then what am I going to want after that? If I get what I want, then what am I going to want? Rather than, seeing that, yes, your vision and your dreams can keep getting bigger once you get to that stage. It was like, but then I have to start again. This genuine, like, but actually sitting with that and feeling into that. And then you realize it's like, oh, because whenever I've gotten in the past, whenever I've gotten what I want, somebody takes it away. Or, because I was married before, it's like, I had that whole like picture perfect life and everyone told me that my life was picture perfect, but on the inside it was terrible. So it was just, the greener pastures kind of mentality rather than, okay, actually, I can have what I want and I desire, and I can keep evolving my dreams, involving me to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I believe that's the path to enlightenment. Each one of us, we jump from one quantum of lessons to the next quantum of lesson and the next. And when people decide, I'm done, I don't want to do anything, then you start. John DeMartini says, when you're green, you grow. When you're ripe, you rot. So yeah, I believe that creating heaven on earth is actually about you coming from inspiration. So like you're saying, what's the fuel? Because that's why we all need stage one. We all, like, if you're listening to this right now and you think, why did I have to be so hard? Well, you at the spiritual level, you chose the Navy SEAL. It's okay. Doesn't mean you're not meant to have what you want. Just need to make sure you heal the story that something was wrong with you for this to happen, and then become a detective and see like, I needed to learn to have this, so I could learn this and I could learn that. So now in stage two, you can use all of this to your advantage and, get into action to create, an amazing life. And the only thing you have to, and it's true when you because running away from pain towards pleasure is very good driver. It feels good to run away from that. But when you're in inspiration, that's a more subtle energy. So how do I keep going? How do I keep doing this without needing a stick? This is the carrot. This is the stick. So stage one is the stick. We run away, but now we need to use the carrot. So what's the carrot when you're living in stage two? And I find that living in stage two, we need something greater than ourselves to get us going. Like for me, I wrote a statement of purpose for my life in 1989, and my career path says that I'm going to help heal the hearts of 1 million people through maximizing their life potential. So that's been every day of my life since 1989. I've been focusing on making that happen. And the journey, because it's bigger than me, gives me courage that otherwise I wouldn't have. Like you hear of mothers, their car accident, the car is about to catch on fire and they're able to lift the car, get their kid out of there, and save the kid. Why? Because it's something bigger than themselves. And if you want to be happy in life, you need to have something bigger than yourself. My most miserable clients, and I'm sure you've had similar experiences, only people they think about is themselves. And because you don't have a big enough why. Like I have an analogy. So like if I put a plank on the ground and I ask you to walk on it, yeah, probably you'll walk on it. If I put a plank 10 meters up in the air and I put a net underneath, would you walk it with a net?
Possibly. But why am I
What's
walking
the
it?
Exactly. If I take the net away, would you walk it? Probably not.
Yeah.
But what if I put the plank between two buildings? One building and your son is in the other building and the place is on fire. You
Yeah,
walk
then
the
you would
plank.
go, right?
You would go.
Motivated.
So when we have something bigger than ourselves, like it gives us perseverance, it gives us courage, it gives us inspiration. It makes our journey so rich. And it's such an amazing gift to give to ourselves. And I was blessed because my source of inspiration happened to me when the first time I did the Martini method with Dr. John DeMartini. I was doing the work on my father, and I was so angry with my father when I started. I was angry with him. I was angry. And then as I kept doing the thing, it's like, my heart started to open to my dad. And then, now I'm starting to understand my dad. So my heart was opening to my dad. And I was starting to feel like, oh my goodness, like, oh yeah. And then all my ego was going out of the window. All of a sudden, I was able to open my heart to my dad. And then there was this man who reminded me of my dad. And then I heard him start crying and says, Mommy, why is it you didn't love me? My heart went kaboom. And I went like, and my heart opened up so hard. Like you hear being a state of grace, I can tell you from experience. If you go into an extreme case of gratitude, you end up in a state of grace.
Yeah.
And what it was like when you hear people who, were dying and they're passing, but then they were told to come back and how they describe it. Well, that's what I felt. And it was amazing because I was in this white light moment and I was shown without words that everything that ever happened to us, everything that is happening, everything that will ever happen is there for us to grow in love and wisdom.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing. It was heaven. I was like, and then like 30 seconds later, I came back and here was like, whoa, this is amazing. And I thought it was so good for my heart. All of a sudden, I loved my dad. I understood the perfection of having him as my father. And it was so healing. And I thought, wow, I want to give this transformation to as many people as I can. So that's what's been driving me. That's been my inspiration. So I totally understand when you say, like, because now I feel I'm living heaven on earth, but I've had to hold the vision for a long time, 1989.
Yeah, and I guess that's like exactly like you said, but that having that bigger vision of bigger than yourselves and also accepting it doesn't have to happen overnight. It just becomes your compass, right? It becomes your guiding light to where you want to step to next in life.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it makes it
you're right there.
And it makes it really easy to say, because I teach my clients how to say they're courageous no, but it makes it really easy to say yes and no to things because, that's what almost like the universe, when you pick a path, then the universe kind of comes and tests you. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's like we're just going to show all these shiny objects and put all these things around you, and you're going to have to choose. So, for example, and it happened to me just this week. So this Thursday coming up, I booked in for this workshop and I was semi-interested, but I thought I'll watch the recording, like if I am doing things with my son because he's on holidays. Anyway, and then I was like, and then something else booked in at that exact same time. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I had two more invitations for two more things all at this one time. I was like, what is going on with this? And then I just heard you need to choose. And I was like, well, I'm going to choose the one that is actually for my family and myself. And they're like, excellent. That is where you're heading. I was like, great, because that's what I need to focus on. And they're like, yes, you do. That's what you're choosing. I was like, okay, thank you. So, but it was so interesting how you'll get all these different options. Even, I've been invited to all these opportunities and I'm like, actually, no, that doesn't align with me. Like that's not what I want to do. Thank you for the offer. It's beautiful, but that's not part of my vision and that's not where I want to head. And
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful what you're saying. Last week, the weekend before, I was in Arizona at a conference, and I can't remember her name, but I got a girl crush on her. Like, she's beautiful, tall. She was on the American volleyball team. She's tall, gorgeous, and she sits there now. She's become kind of a celebrity, but she's so humble. And the thing she talks about is like if you want to move forward, you must live in integrity. And all kinds of people are going to come and tell you what you need to do. But no
Mm.
matter what, you need to live in integrity with your heart. And she says, like, I think she sells like protein supplements or something. She says, there's gonna be even scientists that tell you, if there's only a small fraction, you don't even have to say it on your label that's in there. She goes, you don't do that.
Mm.
You have to stick to what's in your heart, make that happen. And that's what's inspiring. What you're saying right now is inspiring and it's helping somebody who's listening to this right now. That's beautiful. You're
I'm
good
laughing.
at
I'm laughing because the other week I had a client and I was just he was very much in that stuck. He was in that freeze stage, right? Like he knew what he had to do, but he was just fearful of what would happen, pulling the plug and having that conversation and doing what he needed to do to change his life. And I said to him, and I can't remember what I wrote to him. I think I was quoting John D. Martini, but I was also putting it in context for him. And he goes, wow, that's so inspirational. I said, are you making a change from that? And he's like, I'm thinking about it. I said, then it's not inspirational yet until you're making the change. I'm not believing it's inspirational. And it was funny because then I put a post about it on my social media and someone wrote back and said, well, inspire means to breathe life into something new and to change. So there's this movement at the moment too, where people are like, oh, that's so inspirational, but then they don't do anything about it. So it's like, well, no, you're just doing kudos. You're not actually being inspired by it because if you're truly inspired, you're going to go change and get action. And that's when you get the most beautiful momentum in your life because clearly, if it's inspired, it's touched something in your soul and you want to move to create something new and
it.
let that evolve.
And that's why I love this
Yeah.
because the yin is the female principle of listening, but
Yes.
without acting, nothing.
Yes.
And
100%.
I'm gonna make a sexist comment because I'm a woman and I've worked with tons of women and tons of men. And on average, what I find is a lot of men are really good at taking action, but it's not connected to their hearts. And a
Yeah.
lot of women, we know what we want, but we're not so good at getting into action. So the perfect blend, whether you're a female or male, is about using both sides to unfold our highest spiritual human potential.
Yeah. It's so true, because if you don't take the actions and listen to your intuition, that inner knowing, that voice within, it actually dims the voice. Like it actually stops it from being heard. It stops it from coming up louder and larger, and people are like, how do you become intuitive? Because I do intuitive healing. I'm like, well, you listen and you tap in and you truly listen to what your soul wants. And they're like, but how do I know it's not my head? Exactly like you said with muscle testing at the start and getting people to muscle test on themselves. They're like, because I'll be like, okay, do you want the piece of chocolate? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, let's change the question. Should you have the piece of chocolate? No. I was like, okay, right. So you know.
I think what you're saying is so important, is so true. Like I call that infatuation. People confuse infatuation with, I want that piece of chocolate with love. And love is this good for me? And I think it's so like I think one of the greatest challenge we face as human beings is to discover what's the difference between my emotions that want pleasure and my heart that wants fulfillment.
Yes.
And that's what we become wiser, hopefully, with years and discovering the difference between the two. When we are in resentment, it's easy. We know we're not in our hearts. But when it feels good, we think, oh yeah, it's my heart. And then you just attract a lot of lessons.
100% you do. I've learned as well, don't put conditions on the universe because it will not work out how you want it to. And you will get delayed timelines and your house won't sell, for example. So it's really interesting, but it's funny because then I'll meditate and I'll get the words trust and surrender. And I'm like, how long do I need to trust for? And this is about learning to trust myself too, and trusting that inner wisdom. And it was funny the other night, because I've got like oracle cards and I've got them on my phone as well. And I was pulling a card and I was asking a question. I'm like, oh my gosh, I bet you the card that comes up is trust. Kid you not, Dr. Lise. That was the card that I was like, message received. Message received. It was there, like, because I pulled the card, I'm like, it's gonna be trust. And I turn over and I was like, yep, yep, okay, okay. And
Was it a deck of 72 cards?
I don't even know. I think it's like 40 or like, but anyway, but
Thinking when you have 72 cards and then you go,
or
okay, thank
this
you, universe.
and it happened with my son. He has like this little, he got this, his teacher gave him, there's spirit animal oracle decks for kids and they're really cute. They're like, do your chores, but it's like from a really nice point of view, it's like stop avoiding like what you're meant to be doing kind of thing. Anyway, so it's really cute. Anyway, and he picked this card and he's like, I don't want that card. I was like, all right, we'll shuffle it. And then we got
Got
another,
it again.
and he got it again. And he's like, oh, I was like, clearly this message is for you, sweetie. And he's like, no, 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 let's do it another way. And we shuffled it again and he picked it. He's like, no, I'm not happy with that. So then he mixed them all up, everything. But then what happened was he picked them all up and he's like, haha, I'm not getting the card. But the very last card that was left was the same card. And I was like, I said, this is how you get a message. I said, you cannot make this up, sweetie. And he's like, no, I can't. Whereas my husband's a bit more of stuck in that male action side. So he won't listen to that thing and I'm trying to explain that away. And I'm like, how do you explain that away? How can you explain that we got the same card 4 times in 4 different ways?
What would be the odds? Like probably 1 in a million or something like that. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, you're in the city and you bump into somebody that you haven't seen for 20 years in a city they don't even live, or in somewhere that you both don't live, like in the middle of Europe or on a plane or something like that. Like the odds of that happening, clearly you were meant to connect. So this is where
Yeah,
it's
like
bigger than you, right?
I have one even more than that
Oh, yeah.
because I'm standing at the airport in Austin and I'm talking to other chiropractors and I'm talking about this friend of mine, this chiropractor. He walks in front of us.
You manifested him.
I was like, that was crazy. Like,
I've had
yeah,
that
it's like
happen
sometimes
too.
like you think about someone, but you talk about them and then they show up. It's
I
like,
have I
I
have that
don't
happen as
understand.
well.
I was like, wow.
Yes. Yes. Or you thinking about this person, you haven't spoken to them for years, and then they call you and you're like, thank you. Okay. All right. Clearly I'm meant to connect with them. But I feel this is just, when you are connected with your heart and you're anchored in the action and you've got that, like you said, that balance between the two. These are the synchronicities that start to happen in your life because you get to that stage of heaven on earth and you're creating that reality. So that person popping
Exciting.
in your, yeah, it's exciting. Exactly. And when it syncs like that, it's really, really magical as well. So yeah.
I got to be on stage, you know the movie The Secret? So I got to go on stage and teach the people from the movie The Secret the true law of attraction. So the true law of attraction is if you challenge yourself to follow your heart, like what you're talking about, you attract support. So all this synchronicity starts to happen like, wow, it's kind of magical. The reverse is true, however. When we know what needs to be done, but we're not doing it, we stay in our comfort zone. That's when we attract the challenges. So there is magic in following our heart, in having the discipline. And when you're a wise parent, that's what's so important. When you're a wise parent, how do you raise a child knowing that if you make them, I have a corny story, but it's the perfect corny story. When little kid come to see me and I tell them like, your mommy and daddy, they love you very much. And I'm going to tell you a story. And I said like, one day a scientist is observing a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. And it's a huge struggle. It takes hours and hours and hours. So to be nice to the butterfly, they cut the cocoon open. But by doing this, the butterfly has nothing to struggle against, so the wings are weak, it can never fly, and it dies like that. And I say, your mommy and your daddy, they love you so much, they want you to live an amazing life. But to do that, you need to have strong wings. So sometimes they're going to ask you to do things that you're not going to like, but they're going to be good for you. And they're doing this because they love you. And the little kids, they like this, but us, the big kids, also have to do this. Like my heart is calling me to do this. I want to stay in my comfort zone, but when we do that, then we're unhappy. So like I feel we live in an amazing matrix. You cannot cheat the system. You can try to fool yourself, but like the universe will bring you the baseball bat to wake you up, and it's like you can't get out of it.
Yep.
And
My coach taught us this thing, and it's choosing intentional courage over accidental courage, right? Like, because accidental
yeah,
courage is where the baseball bat comes, and you have to be courageous to get away from the baseball bat. But intentional courage is where you know the baseball bat will come, but you can feel how you can get away from it before it even strikes, and then you take the courage and the steps to do it. Don't wait for the baseball bat, people. That's what we're trying to say. Don't wait for the baseball bat. Act
yeah,
before
yeah,
that.
it can be painful. Like one of
Mm.
the reasons I started doing all this work is because in 1988, like, I was a successful chiropractor. My patient loved me. I loved them. I worked 20 hours a week. I took 12 weeks off a year. I was a competitive rower. We were winning. I had the guy I thought I was going to marry. Like everything, but I felt empty inside.
Mm,
I was
I
like,
understand.
ah. And I was seeking and seeking. And then in 1988, my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer. He was given 9 months to live. That was 3 weeks before my sister's wedding. A week after my sister's wedding, my 21-year-old brother died in a car accident. And within a month of this, my 8-year relationship to that guy that I was going to marry ended. And it was so painful. Like the baseball bat was so painful that it sent me on the quest to understand what does it take to live a great life? Because it's not if these things are going to happen.
It's
When they
when.
happen, how do we use them to our benefit? I was lucky. I was so cool, through doing this kind of work. So I had a client and he makes movies. So he created this whole movie about not a documentary, it's a movie, but basically the story is like if you love your kids, challenge them. So I got to be on stage, and speak to the audience, and that was cool. And so I asked them, raise your hand if you've never been challenged. Nobody. As I said, maybe if we're smart as human beings, the idea is not to try to avoid challenges, but when they happen, you learn to use them to our advantage. So I think when we have something in our heart that wants to come through, you're going to be challenged. So when these things happen, like for me in 1988, it was like, but I didn't know this work. But to run away from the pain towards pleasure, because I was still in my stage one, like my life is so rich as a result. So now when something happens, all of us, what's important is when we are being challenged. I'm certain there's only two reasons why we get challenged. One, it's asking us to master something because obviously if we mastered it, it wouldn't be a challenge. And or it's sending us in a direction we have no idea we need to go. Like I had no idea that I was going to become a coach because I love being a chiropractor. And sometimes you need to leave, but you're not doing it. So for me in 2003, because in 1989, I wrote down I was going to do what I'm doing now. So in 2003, imagine that I'm a chiropractor. My patients did not know that. They'd be lying on the table and I'm crying. I take my girlfriend out for her birthday and right in the middle of birthday dinner, I start crying. So I go, Lise, you better stop before you get the baseball bat. So crying is okay. And then I realized I was crying because I knew I had to leave my really cushy life and challenge myself, scare
Mm,
myself to follow my heart. So
mm,
when we face a challenge, it's either we ask to master something or it's sending us in a direction we have no idea we need to go. Or sometimes we know, but we're kicking and screaming, not wanting to go. So like challenges are not drawbacks. They're perfect. They're always happening for us.
100%. 100%. And I feel we could talk all day, but we need to wrap this up. So
We
if
have cleared it up. Yep.
yep. I asked the guests that come on the show, Dr. Lise, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Well, that's my mission. My mission is to heal the hearts of millions of people because people just need to remember that they are loved. That's who they are. That's their essence. And that if you go tell someone that they're doing it wrong, it never works. But if someone reconnects with their heart, they know they're worthy of love. They respect self. They respect others. They respect the environment. So the solution to all this is to heal our hearts.
Yeah, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree. And if people want to come and work with you or connect with you, where's the best place they can find you?
I have two websites. One is drlisejanelle.com or Center for Heart Living. It's the same one. And the other one is drliseelite.com. But I think one way for people, if they were interested in working in hearing more about this, I have a book called Conversation with the Heart. And if they go conversationwiththeheart.com, they can buy it there. It's on Amazon. It's also digital. Yeah, I love. And if people are interested in doing the certification, if someone wants to work professionally with the Heart Freedom Method, I have a certification program. So because I cannot keep doing it one by one. So that's why I'm grateful for you inviting me right now on this podcast so I can talk about this. And hopefully when the book comes out with Jack, we can reach millions, because I want to create a generation of kids eventually that know since they're little kids that they're worthy of love, because that's how we stop the challenges in the world.
I love this so much because my vision is to create like a spirit school for children where they're nurtured and nourished.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I love this. I love this. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lise, for being on. And also, I love how you teach the yin and the yang in terms of finding that connection with yourself so that you can tap into your purpose and your compass, right? And you're using that beautiful heart freedom method as well.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everyone, for being there.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.